So I'm trying to figure out how Washington's going to stay in this game, Ben, and I'm trying not to shortchange the Huskies because, again, I'm going to throw out the NFL figures. And I think if we look down the line about 5 years, we're going to see a number of these Huskies in the NFL. Chris Peterson's done a tremendous job of elevating this program back to a place where it was 15 years ago or so. Very talented team with some playmakers on offense and especially the defense. The secondary might be the best in the country. It's in that range. But in terms of Alabama stock, when you talk 5 stars across the board, high 4 stars, there's just a difference there, isn't there?
Yeah, you're not the only one trying to figure out how Washington's going to keep up in this game. It's been kind of a conversation I've had today. It's just, you look at the two teams, it's a noticeable difference in size and strength. Alabama's got one of the best strength and conditioning coordinators in the country, and Scott Cochran. I mean, he's at a different level, especially on the college level. He even, probably is comparable to a lot of NFL strength and conditioning coaches and programs. But, you look at those guys, and just on the field alone, it's different. It's night and day, and it should be like that. You mentioned it. I mean, the recruiting classes – year in, year out, Alabama's got the best talent, bar none. I mean, there's only a couple of schools that are even in the conversation. And Washington is not one of them. Washington, they've done a heck of a job, and Chris Peterson's a heck of a coach. And they've gotten probably to a spot they didn't expect to get this quick, quite frankly. But they do have some talented players, but it's just you don't have the waves and you don't have the depth across the board. I mean, you can't look at a position in Alabama and say, well, that guy, maybe he doesn't belong on the field in this game, or maybe he can't keep up with the rest of the guys. It's not like that at Alabama. And it's just hard. You can't find a matchup, any one spot that you feel really, really good about. There's going to be some spots where Washington or whoever is going to have a little bit of an edge potentially, but there's not one that's a glaring weakness or a glaring strong suit for you heading into that matchup. And that's kind of how it is this week, and you notice it. So, you're not the only one, Mark, that's trying to figure that out. I think Washington can keep it close, but it'd be very surprising if it was a game in the fourth quarter to me.
Yeah, so of course this team lost to USC. That was their one loss. USC obviously played Alabama 52-6. Would it be 52-6 tomorrow if they played? I don't believe so. I think USC's progressed, and I think they're really good. But some people are trying to tell us that, hey, that would be a really good game tomorrow, Alabama-USC. No, I still think it would be 42-17 or whatever. They're still significantly better. And I know going into that game, my thought was if you took the 5 or 10 best athletes on the USC roster versus the Alabama roster, they're probably pretty comparable. We're going to see these guys in the NFL. They're going to be impact players. But once you get past 5 or 8 or maybe 10, then it just it's just a complete disparity between the Alabama roster and even USC. And I know it was only one game, but USC very much outclassed this team in Seattle.
Yeah, and that's the one game I point to. I mean, everybody talked about the schedule for Washington and whether they did out of conference, whatever. But the Pac-12 is down this year, and I think that's what you have to judge them by. If the Pac-12 was solid this year, it's a different story. But I mean, arguably, Mark, outside of USC, Colorado is a great story. Don't get me wrong. I think it's great what they've done, but they're not there yet. I mean, USC was the best team they played, and USC controlled that game. And if USC could do that going into Washington, I mean, it's hard to sell me. And, we know that it's not – you can't compare games. You can't do that. But you look at the way they performed in that game, and it just doesn't give you a lot of confidence that they can get past Alabama. I mean, not even – look, even if their defense, which is played great this year, comes out and causes fits for Jalen Hurts and he turns the ball over a couple of times. And, even like the way that Florida game started where, it's just they don't have any momentum, Alabama, coming out of the gates. I just don't think that Washington, and the same way they did against USC, can move the ball effectively enough and consistently enough to put pressure on Alabama. Jake Browning is the best quarterback I think that Alabama is going to have faced. And if he does have time and does get some confidence, can make some plays, he's got some great receivers. I think if John Ross played in the Southeastern Conference or played in the Big Ten, I think he'd be a bigger name than what he is playing at Washington. But I don't think he can. I don't think Browning will have the time. I think Alabama's shown that they can rush 3 guys, 4 guys, and get after them. And Mark, even this week, Sean Deion Hamilton's going to be a big loss for Alabama, but I think Rashaan Evans brings another dimension in terms of pass rush. I mean, he's a pass rush guy at the linebacker position. He might disrupt some things there as well. So, look, I think Washington will come out. Your boy Chris Peterson will probably bring out some trick plays, right? And that's been a lot of the talk too. Nick Saban's gone back 8-10 years looking at all of his trick plays. But it would take a perfect game, I think, for them to win this game. And look, it's no fault to them. I'm not trying to disparage what they've done this year, but it's just that they're just different programs right now. And I think maybe in a year or two, Chris Peterson can get to that next level. But right now where they are, I just don't think they have enough firepower for 4 quarters to go toe-to-toe.
Yeah, it's not basketball. If you take a vintage Kentucky team with 4 NBA players and you trot them out against a Wisconsin and they would beat them 9 out of 10 times, well, if you play the clock shot the right way, if you squeeze the game down, if you take the air out of the ball, if you maximize fundamentals and really play a sharp game in basketball, it's those basketball games are over like that, man. You get to halftime like that and it could be 25-22 and then maybe you got a chance and things happen. Football games are long. They're long events, and it's a long look at USC for more than 1 quarter. They held Alabama scoreless. Michigan State last year, that was a game with like minutes left in the second quarter. It was like 3-0, 7-0, whatever it was. It was 10-0. Connor Cook had him down to inside the 10-yard line. If he doesn't throw that pick, if he throws a touchdown, but they didn't get there. And then all of a sudden it's out of hand within 5 to 8 minutes of time in the third quarter. Yeah. Well, it's 10-0 at halftime, and it had that feel as, oh, wow, they really needed to score there to have any kind of chance. And then within the first 5 minutes of the third quarter, it just gets out of hand, and it's over. And it's really over. It's ugly over.
And that's the thing. You have to take advantage of the opportunities you have against Alabama. If you do manage to get in the red zone, you have to score a touchdown. Now, Washington has been very good at that. I mean, they've scored a clip that, hasn't been matched by many teams in the country. I don't remember the exact totals, but they're scoring like 90% in the red zone. So they've been maybe even 94. They've been really efficient in the red zone. But I'm trying to remember the exact number for Alabama. But Mark, there's been like 6 plays run inside the Alabama 10-yard line in the past like 2 months. I mean, like teams aren't even getting down there. So the opportunities haven't even been there for teams. And then you factor in the fact the idea that they're back in the Georgia Dome in Atlanta, a place where they're awfully familiar with, where they play every single year, not with the SEC championship necessarily, but with those season openers. I mean, this is a venue that they know almost as well probably as Bryant-Denny. I haven't gone back and looked at the numbers, but this is probably the venue they played the most behind Bryant-Denny Stadium in the home game. So that's another factor for them, time zone. I mean, look, all the factors are working against Washington on top of them being the worst team with lesser talent. So, you add all that in, it's tough to pick Washington on the upset, and not many people are.
So last year, I thought Michigan State, for a good team, was just about the worst matchup that the Big Ten or any conference could have offered up to Alabama, because they had a stationary quarterback.
Right.
He was a sitting duck, so he couldn't challenge the defense that way. Even though Michigan State's known for running the ball, they didn't have a great run. They actually had their worst rushing attack last year for like 5 to 6 years. There was a number of things going against them. They actually weren't probably the best team in the Big Ten. They were probably 3rd or 4th because they beat Iowa by a yard. They should have lost to Michigan, but we know what happened with the punt. So it was just so I don't know that it's going to be 38-0, because I think Browning's more mobile than Cook. I think they've got a few more playmakers on offense to the outside. If they can get off the line of scrimmage, if they can outfight the cornerbacks to get off the line of scrimmage, they've got some tremendous speed on the outside with Ross and with Pettis, and maybe a little bit more talented, maybe not better statistically on defense, but maybe more talented on defense, guys that are going to play in the NFL. So maybe they keep it a little bit more interesting. Maybe.
You're trying to sell yourself hard, Mark.
I'm trying to. I want to see a good game at 3:00.
Hey, I want to get out of there fast and get ready for New Year's.